Never thought I'd be that guy writing one of these soap opera tier infidelity stories, but here we are. So yeah, I'm 34, been married to my wife, Lila. She's 32, for 6 years. No kids, thank God. We've had our ups and downs like anyone, but I always thought we were solid. She's always been ambitious, juggling 2 jobs, daytime saleswoman at a women's clothing boutique, and evenings/weekends doing waxing at a small beauty salon. The salon gig was her idea. More cash, more freedom, she said. I didn't think much of it. Honestly, I respected the hustle. Lila's always been the confident, sassy, high-maintenance type. Yeah, she can be a bitch when she doesn't get her way, but I chalked it up to her being passionate. In hindsight, red flag factory. Anyway, this all started a few months ago when she mentioned she had a regular male client, a guy named Mason. She brought him up like he was just another customer, but over time, I started hearing that name a lot. He came in again today. Honestly, he's hilarious. He always books last minute, ugh. I swear, if Mason comes in one more time asking for a full Brazilian, I'm gonna scream. At first, I just laughed it off. I mean, the idea of another guy getting waxed by my wife didn't really trigger anything in me. I trusted her. Stupid, I know. What I didn't notice was how her schedule started changing. Late shifts became emergency appointments. She'd leave for the salon glammed up like she was going clubbing, not like someone about to rip hair off strangers. One night I asked, "Why do you get all dressed up for waxing?" She rolled her eyes so hard I thought she might pass out. "It's called presentation, babe. You wouldn't understand." And then came the phone obsession. Lila's never been shy about texting in front of me, but suddenly, her phone was always face down, locked, and password changed. "Why are you being so paranoid?" She snapped one night when I asked about it. Classic deflection. Still, I didn't press. I didn't want to be that guy, hovering and suspicious. But man, in hindsight, I should have been looking harder. About 3 weeks ago, I went to surprise her at the salon with dinner. Just being sweet, you know? She wasn't there. The front desk girl told me Lila had left early, said she had personal plans. That didn't sit right. When she got home, I asked how work was. She lied right to my face. Ugh, long day. So many appointments. I nodded, smiled, handed her the Thai takeout like I hadn't just confirmed she was full of shit. That's when I started digging. Checked her location history. Nothing. Checked our shared calendar. Empty. She had wiped everything clean. I felt sick. That night, I started a new habit, watching her. Not in some creepy way, just observing. The fake laughs when she texted. The subtle smiles. The sudden shower before bed. Routine after coming home from work. Something was up. But nothing could have prepared me for what I eventually saw with my own eyes. All right, Reddit, buckle up, because this part still makes my stomach twist. After posting part 1, I got a ton of DMs and support. Thank you. I honestly thought I was going crazy, but turns out gut instincts are there for a reason. So where were we? After catching her in that lie about working late, I started keeping tabs. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I played it cool. I even acted extra sweet to see how she'd respond. Turns out, when your wife is cheating, being kind only makes them more irritated. Lila got bitchier, colder, snappier. Her mood swings were off the charts. "Why are you breathing like that?" she snapped one night while we were watching TV. Like, damn, sorry for existing. Anyway, it all came to a head about a week ago. Lila told me she had a full day of back-to-back wax appointments at the salon. Normally, I wouldn't question it, but something inside me just screamed go. So I did. I waited until I knew she'd be mid-session, then drove to the salon. It's a small place, part of a strip mall. Quiet. Closed on Sundays, unless you're Lila, apparently. Her car was parked out front. The lights were on inside. I parked around back and crept up quietly. The back entrance was cracked open. Probably for ventilation, or more likely, because Mason likes to sneak in unseen. Now, I wish I could say I hesitated, that I considered the emotional consequences. But nope. I walked right in. The place smelled like lavender oil and sin. I heard her voice coming from one of the treatment rooms. Laughing. Flirty. Then another voice. Deep. Male. Definitely not the sounds of a casual waxing session. And then came moaning. I froze for a second, heart hammering in my throat. My fists clenched. I stepped toward the room, pushed the door open, and there they were. Lila was completely naked, straddling Mason on the waxing table. The wax pot was still warm beside them, strips scattered across the floor. She was riding him like her life depended on it, sweaty, messy, hair tied back in a way I hadn't seen in months. My wife, having sex with her client. I didn't say anything at first, just stood there. Mason saw me first. His eyes went wide, and he shoved her off, fumbling to cover himself. Lila screamed, not in fear, not in shame, but in rage. "What the F***ck are you doing here?" she shrieked, scrambling to pull her robe on. I just blinked. "You seriously want to ask me that question?" Mason bolted, no pants, shoes in hand, slipping on the wax strips like a Scooby-Doo character. I didn't even go after him. I was locked on her. She started sobbing, hysterical, then immediately switched to screaming at me. "You're such a psycho. You're spying on me now? You invaded my workplace. This is illegal." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Illegal? You're F***ing a dude on a waxing table, and I'm the problem?" And then came the gaslighting. "It's not what it looks like. It was just a stupid mistake. He was vulnerable. I was helping him through a breakup." Yeah, a breakup. With her vagina, apparently. She tried every trick in the book. Tears, rage, guilt tripping, even blaming me for not being exciting anymore. I just stared at her. This was not the woman I married. This was someone else entirely. Someone who lies, screams, and F***ck's dudes on sticky paper. I told her I was done. Divorce was coming. She went ballistic, started throwing things, screaming that I was ruining her life. "No, Lila, you did that all on your own." I walked out. And that's where this chapter ends. So yeah, I walked out of that sticky horror show with Mason's waxed ass probably still slipping out the back door. I drove straight to my best friend Nate's place. Didn't even text him, just showed up at his front door with the deadest expression I've ever worn. He took one look at me and said, "She cheated, didn't she?" I nodded. He cracked a beer and handed it to me without another word. That man deserves a F***king medal. Anyway, I stayed the night at Nate's. My phone blew up the entire time. Lila called 37 times. Left voicemails sobbing, screaming, apologizing, and threatening me with legal action for invading her workplace and traumatizing her. I didn't answer a single one. Next morning, I called a divorce attorney. Got an appointment that same afternoon. The moment I said, "Caught her having sex with a client on a waxing table," the lawyer just raised an eyebrow and said, "We'll get started immediately." I wasn't just filing for divorce. I was done playing nice. Now here's where the chaos escalates. Lila showed up at Nate's. Like, full-on pounding on the door, mascara running, yelling my name from the porch. Nate looked at me like, "Want me to call the cops or the exorcist?" I stepped outside. She was sobbing into her cardigan, hair still wet like she just got out of the shower. Which, fair, she probably needed to sterilize her whole existence. She launched into some Oscar-worthy speech about how she was lost and how Mason didn't mean anything and how I wasn't paying enough attention to her. I just said, "You waxed his balls, then rode him in your place of work, while lying to my face for weeks." She screamed, like a banshee, "You made me this way." I just said, "Cool. Good luck with Mason. Don't contact me again unless it's through my lawyer." Then I turned around and shut the door. She kicked the door, then ran to her car and peeled out like she was in Fast and Furious, Wax Wars. A few hours later, I got a text from an unknown number. "You're making a huge mistake. You'll regret this." Pretty sure it was Mason. "Buddy, I already regret ever hearing your name." So now, I'm sleeping at Nate's, getting the divorce train rolling, and mentally preparing for the war that's coming. Because Lila? She doesn't go down without drama. She's the kind of woman who burns the whole house down rather than admit she lit the match. This was just the beginning. Alright, Reddit. If you thought catching my wife having sex with a client in the beauty salon was rock bottom, nah, that was just the pre-show. The main event, Lila going full scorched earth on me, and accidentally torching herself in the process. So a couple days after I told her not to contact me unless it was through my lawyer, she ignored that entirely, shocker, and started the pity campaign. First, she showed up at my workplace. Yep, in a tight little dress, crocodile tears, and some sad speech about just needing closure. She started crying in the F***king lobby. My boss had to ask her to leave. She didn't leave quietly. "You're a coward. A pathetic little man. You don't walk away from a marriage over one mistake." Oh, but wait. It gets better. Later that day, I got an email from her, sent from her work account, LOL. She accused me of emotional abuse, neglect, and get this, manipulative gaslighting. Projection, thy name is Lila. She said she was consulting her own attorney and would be demanding spousal support since I sabotaged her career by embarrassing her at work. Bruh, ked your client. While waxing him, you sabotaged yourself. I forwarded the email straight to my lawyer. His response, she just made our job easier. But Lila wasn't done. The next morning, I woke up to messages from mutual friends, screenshots of a massive Facebook post she made. Full public. Captioned, my truth. You already know what it said. Classic villain-turned-victim narrative. She claimed, I was controlling. I monitored her every move. I humiliated her in front of a client during a routine waxing. And the best one, that I had anger issues and stormed into her workplace screaming. People who know me personally were like, dude, what? Lila didn't count on the fact that I had receipts. I had the texts, the security cam timestamp from the salon entrance. Hell, even Mason's info from her appointment log. So I responded with exactly one thing. A calm, concise post that said, since Lila decided to air our personal business, here's the truth, and attached a photo of her text that said, you weren't supposed to catch us. He means nothing. I was just horny and bored. Guess how that played out? Her post disappeared within an hour. A few of her white knight friends apologized. One even said, dude, she made you look like a serial killer. I just laughed. Lila tried calling again. Blocked. She tried emailing again. Blocked. Then, she made the ultimate desperation move. She contacted my mom. Like my actual mother. This woman who used to mock my family for being too basic, now suddenly wanted to rebuild bridges and talk things out. My mom's response. Sweetheart, the only thing you're rebuilding is your self-respect. Best of luck. Iconic. So here we are now, legal proceedings underway. Lila's reputation in the dirt. Mason? He ghosted her, apparently. Guess waxing wasn't worth the wreckage. And me? Still angry. Still hurting. But honestly, starting to feel free. So, Lila wasn't done. Not even close. You'd think after the salon sex incident, the meltdown at my work, the Facebook fiasco, and my mom telling her to kick rocks, she'd back off. But no. When a narcissist loses control, they don't reflect, they double down. It was a Thursday night. I was finally having a decent evening for once. Grabbed pizza with Nate. We played some FIFA, and I was actually relaxing. Then I get a text from an unknown number. Hey, it's me. Can we talk? Just once. Please. I didn't respond. Then came the voicemail. I'm at your place. I need to talk. I know I ked up. I know I lied. I know you hate me. But please, just hear me out. I should have ignored it. But against my better judgment, and probably because I was 2 beers in, I drove over. Mostly to make sure she wasn't vandalizing my car or some wild shit. She was sitting on the front steps, crying. Legit tears. Makeup streaked. Dressed like she just came from church. Theatrical as hell. I don't have anyone else, she whispered. I stayed standing. Didn't even sit beside her. Then she went into the monologue. Said she was spiraling. Didn't know how to stop herself. That I was the only person who ever saw the real her. That Mason was just a distraction, and she was ashamed of everything. She told me she'd go to therapy, quit the salon, even sign whatever papers I wanted, if I just gave her another chance. I'll be the wife you deserve, she said, grabbing my hand. And for a moment, a flicker of old memories hit me. The way she used to laugh at my dumb jokes, how she used to dance in the kitchen in her pajamas. But then I remembered the look on her face when I caught her mid-thrust on that waxing table. I pulled my hand away. You're not sorry, I said. You're just scared of being alone. She flinched like I slapped her. I continued. You want forgiveness so you can stop feeling like the bad guy. But you were the bad guy. You lied. You cheated. You humiliated me. And now that your backup plan ghosted you, you're crawling back. Then I handed her an envelope, my lawyer's latest update. Divorce proceedings, her portion of the shared account, and a formal request to stop contacting me. She didn't cry anymore. Just sat there, stunned. I walked away. Didn't look back. That was the last time I saw her in person. It's been a week since then. She hasn't reached out. I think reality finally hit. And me? I'm rebuilding. Therapy starts Monday. I moved most of my stuff out of Nate's and into a small studio apartment across town. It's not much, but it's mine. So, remember Mason? Yeah, that Mason. The walking cliché who thought it was appropriate to whip it out at a waxing appointment and stick it in a married woman on a salon table. Well, guess what? King messaged me. I was at work, neck deep in spreadsheets, when I got a DM on Instagram from a username I didn't recognize, Smooth Moves 84. I almost ignored it. Then curiosity got the better of me. I opened it. Hey, this is Mason. I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, but I need to talk to you. It's important. My first thought, the audacity of this guy, but I let it sit. Didn't respond. A few hours later, another message. Look, I didn't know she was married at first. She lied to me too. Please, just give me a few minutes to explain. That's all I'm asking. At that point, I was torn. Part of me wanted to tell him to go wax himself with a cheese grater. But the other part, the one that wanted closure, was curious. So I replied with one word. Talk. He sent me a number. We got on a call. And man, what he said shocked even me. He claimed he met Lila when she was working late at the salon. Said she flirted with him first. Told him she was single but not ready to date seriously. She started giving him discounts on his waxing appointments, then offered private sessions after hours. At first, it was just flirty texts and innuendos. Then one night she straight up invited him over after closing. That was the first time they had sex in the salon. She told me you were her ex, he said. Said you were a controlling jerk who wouldn't move out of her apartment. I swear, man, I didn't know she was still married. I sat there in silence, just stunned. She was the one who told me to be discreet, Mason added. She said if people found out, it would ruin her business. Of course she did. But then he dropped the real nuke. She told me she used to do this kind of thing before. Like, mess around with clients or co-workers when she got bored in her relationships. She said she was good at keeping secrets. There it was again. That King line. I'm great at keeping secrets. That's what Lila had texted me once, years ago, when I jokingly asked her about her work husband. I thought it was just a dumb flirt. Turns out it was a goddamn confession in plain sight. Mason said after I caught them, she tried to guilt trip him into staying with her, told him she chose him over a miserable marriage, and he should be grateful. He ghosted her. She's dangerous, man, he said. Manipulative as hell. I had to block her on everything. I didn't thank him. I didn't curse him out. I just said, noted, and hung up. And that was it. The full circle. She didn't just cheat. She built a whole alternate reality to justify it, to both of us. Lies on top of lies. Masks stacked on masks. But now the picture's clear. So, after my convo with Mason, I felt like something inside me finally snapped into place. Like, this fog I'd been under since D-Day just cleared. This wasn't just a cheating scandal. This was a whole pattern. A lifestyle for Lila. The lies. The manipulation. The emotional whiplash. All of it had been happening longer than I wanted to admit. So I did what I should have done a long time ago. Scheduled a full purge. Moving day. I arranged for a buddy with a truck to help me clear the rest of my stuff out of the house Lila and I had shared. I'd been crashing at Nate's and in my new studio since things blew up, but I still had some of my stuff. Tools, books, memorabilia, even a few gifts from my parents, in the garage and basement. I sent Lila a courtesy message through my lawyer. I'd be coming by to collect my things on Saturday morning between 9 and noon. Now, Lila had no reason to be there. The place was legally under my name. But I knew her. She'd show. And of course, she did. I pulled up at 8:50 a.m., and her car was already in the driveway. I sighed. Deep breath. Time to face the dragon one last time. She was sitting on the front step with her arms crossed, looking like the world owed her something. I didn't agree to this, she said as I walked past. You don't have to. You don't live here anymore. Oh, you think you can just throw me out like garbage? You threw yourself out the second you climbed on your client, Lila. That shut her up for about 15 seconds. Then came the waterworks. I have nowhere to go. You're leaving me with nothing. You said you loved me. I didn't flinch. I did. Until you made sure I couldn't anymore. Then she tried a new angle. Revenge. I'll tell people you abused me, she spat. I'll ruin your reputation. You think people won't believe me? That right there? That was the moment I knew I'd made the right decision. I pulled out my phone and hit record. Say that again? Her eyes widened. Go ahead, I said calmly. Let's make sure the lawyers hear everything you're threatening. She bolted up, grabbed her purse, and stormed off without another word. By 10:30, my stuff was packed and loaded. I took one last look around the house. No nostalgia, no pain, just relief. And as I was leaving, I noticed she had left a framed photo of us in the trash bin, our wedding photo. The glass was cracked. I didn't pick it up. I drove away without looking back. That afternoon, I dropped off the keys with my lawyer. Official separation in motion. Her access revoked. You'd think the night I finally got everything out of that house would feel like popping champagne on New Year's Eve. But honestly, it was quiet. Too quiet. After dropping off the keys and cutting the last physical thread tying me to Lila, I got back to my new studio, dropped my bags, and just sat. No screaming. No accusations. No slamming doors. No fake crying about how I ruined her life. Just me, a mattress on the floor, a half-stocked fridge, and the weird hum of freedom. And man, I'll be real with you, it hurt. Not because I missed her. That was long gone. But because when you've been gaslit, manipulated, and emotionally jerked around for years, the silence feels unnatural. It feels like you're doing something wrong just by existing in peace. I kept waiting for the next explosion. The next lie. The next emotional landmine. But nothing came. Just the whir of the fan and the occasional drip from the kitchen sink. I cracked a beer, sat on the floor, and stared at the wall like a dude who just woke up from a coma. Because in a way, I had. For the first time in a long time, I realized how tired I was. Not just physically, emotionally. I hadn't been living. I'd been surviving. Dodging her mood swings, soothing her insecurities, carrying the weight of a marriage she was too busy torching behind my back. And now? Now I had space to breathe. To be. No lies. No secrets. No waxing emergencies that ended in sex on a treatment table. Just me. So I did something weird. I took out a notebook, one my sister gave me months ago for journaling. I laughed at the time. And I started writing. Day 1. I'm free. I feel broken, but at least the pieces are mine. I wrote until 3 a.m. Everything. The betrayal. The rage. The parts of me that felt stupid for not seeing it sooner. The relief. The confusion. The dark thoughts I'd been avoiding. It all came out. And for the first time since this entire nightmare started, I actually slept. Like, fully out cold. No dreams. Number 3 a.m. dread. Just blackness. Next morning, I woke up sore, hungover from the beer and emotions, but for once, I didn't wake up feeling like I was still trapped in a lie. So, like I said at the end of part 8, I finally slept, like really slept, for the first time since everything blew up. I woke up late, cracked open the curtains in my little studio apartment, and for once, the sunlight didn't feel like an accusation. It just felt warm. I made coffee, sat on my floor because I didn't have a couch yet, turned on my old laptop, and for whatever reason, I opened Reddit. Just muscle memory at this point. I clicked into /r/funny, scrolled past the usual memes. Then I saw this dumbass video of a guy trying to wax his own chest with duct tape and screaming like he was being murdered. It shouldn't have been that funny. Like, it really shouldn't have. But I lost it. Full on, doubled over, choking on coffee kind of laugh. I was crying by the end of it. And I think that was the moment something shifted. Because here's the thing. Laughter wasn't just about the video. It was the fact that I could actually find something funny again. You don't realize how much damage someone like Lila does to your brain until you finally feel safe enough to laugh without looking over your shoulder. That freedom to just be stupid and joyful for a few minutes? Man, it hit like a drug. Then I went deeper down the Reddit rabbit hole, ended up on a thread about weirdest things clients have done during waxing appointments. One esthetician wrote, I had a guy ask if he could finish himself off after I waxed his balls. I declined and told him to take his erection somewhere else. I spit my coffee. Mason energy, 100%. And then it hit me. I'd spent weeks suffocating in betrayal and shame, thinking I was the idiot, the fool, the broken one. But truth is, Lila and Mason were just trash people doing trash things. It didn't define me. I didn't cheat. I didn't lie. I didn't destroy our marriage. That was all her. All I did was survive it. And now, finally, I could laugh at the absurdity of it all. That was the day I decided to reclaim a little piece of myself. I bought a used couch off Facebook Marketplace. Started building a Spotify playlist that didn't remind me of her. Cleaned out my old socials. Started unfollowing mutual friends who tried to stay neutral. She blew up our life. I wasn't going to keep breathing in the smoke. So after that moment, me laughing at some poor dude duct taping his own chest, and finally breathing like a real human again. I started to actually feel human again. Therapy was helping. Sleep was happening. I bought a used couch that didn't smell like regret. Things were on the up. Which, of course, meant it was time for Lila to pop back up and try to drag me back into hell. It started small. A like on an old Instagram photo. The one of me and my dog, who she hated, by the way. Then, 2 days later. Hey, I saw that couch you got. Looks comfy. I miss lazy Sundays with you. Nope. Left it on read. Next. She emailed me. Again. Subject line. Closure. Body. I think we owe it to ourselves to have one last conversation. Not to fight. Just to talk. I'm going to therapy now. I'm growing. I understand what I did to you. I'll always love you. I forwarded it straight to my lawyer. Then she called my sister. Yeah. She actually had the audacity to call my sister, who's basically a shark in heels, and tell her she wanted to reconnect with the people who mattered. My sister said, and I quote, "The only thing you should reconnect with is a therapist, preferably one who specializes in delusion." Beautiful. Now, here's where it gets extra pathetic. That weekend, I went out for drinks with a couple friends. It was the first time I'd been to a bar since the divorce started. We hit this low-key spot across town. I'm chatting with this girl, a nurse, sharp as hell, real easy to talk to, and I feel Lila before I see her. I turn around. She's at the F***King bar with some random guy, but she's not looking at him. She's staring dead at me. I kid you not, the guy she was with turned to order a drink, and she full-on waved at me, like we were childhood friends bumping into each other at a farmer's market. I didn't wave back, just turned back to the nurse and said, "Sorry, drama. Ignore it." Lila got up and left not even 5 minutes later. No scene, no storm off, just evaporated. And that was the last time I saw her in person. She probably realized her power over me was gone. The version of me that would have chased her, begged for answers, tried to fix things, dead and buried. You'd think after everything, catching her in the act, watching her implode her own life, seeing her desperate attempts to claw back into mine, I'd feel nothing but justified rage. But you know what sat with me the longest? Guilt. Not for anything I did, but for what I didn't do. I felt guilty for not seeing the signs sooner. Guilty for believing the lies. Guilty for defending her to my friends when they raised red flags. Guilty for every time I doubted myself instead of her. And deep down, I felt guilty for wasting years of my life on someone who was never who I thought she was. That's the one that hit hardest. The sense that I'd been building a life on a foundation that was rotting the entire time, and I had no idea. That I'd poured love, patience, and trust into someone who didn't deserve a fraction of it. I brought this up in therapy, half expecting my therapist to hit me with the "you did your best" line. But instead, she said something that punched me right in the gut, in a good way. You're not guilty of loving someone. That's not a flaw. That's not a failure. That's human. The failure was hers. The betrayal was hers. And the time wasn't wasted. You learned who you are in the worst of it. And who you are is someone who stayed kind, even when you were being destroyed. I didn't know I needed to hear that until I did. I spent so long internalizing her manipulations, her mood swings, her cruel little jabs, like they were a reflection of me. Like maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe I was boring. Maybe I was the problem. But no, I was just a guy trying to love someone who weaponized that love against him. That week, I threw out the last box I had been avoiding. One with old cards, a couple framed photos I never got around to burning, and, no joke, a candle she gave me with a note that said, "Smells like you." Yeah, I lit that bitch on fire. Candle and note. Tossed the ashes out the window like bad karma. That night, I slept like a man who didn't owe anyone anything anymore. Especially not guilt. Next, the text from Mason's ex-girlfriend that turned the story completely on its head. Turns out, Lila's trail of destruction didn't stop with me. I was at work, on my lunch break, halfway through a mediocre sandwich, when I got the message. It was from an account I didn't recognize. Just a first name and a sunflower emoji in the profile. The message said, "Hi, I hope this isn't weird, but I think we've both been burned by the same people. I was with Mason for 3 years, and I just found out about everything." My stomach dropped. She introduced herself as Talia. She was Mason's actual girlfriend, had been, up until a couple months before I caught him screwing Lila on the salon table. Apparently, Mason had been telling her they were on a break while he figured out his emotions. Classic. She found my profile through mutual friends. Turns out we had a few small-town overlaps, and had seen some vague posts I made around the time things blew up. Nothing dramatic, just a few quotes about betrayal and starting over. But I guess it pinged something in her. She said Mason had confessed everything after she pressed him about his weird behavior. The waxing sessions, the texts, the after-hours hookups. And then she hit me with this. He told me Lila wasn't the only one, just the one who got messy. Said he had a thing for women in relationships. It was like a power trip for him. I read that line 3 times. Suddenly, so much made sense. Lila thought she was special. He told her she was different. They were connected, meant to be, blah blah whatever other rom-com garbage he peddled. But to him, she was a checkbox. Another conquest. Another bored wife looking for validation he could twist into sex. And now she was left with nothing, because even the guy she destroyed our marriage for saw her as a throwaway. Talia and I ended up on a quick call. She wasn't looking for drama. She just wanted to know she wasn't crazy. She said she'd been gaslit so hard she was starting to question her own memory. Sounded familiar. We talked for half an hour. Just 2 burned out, betrayed people piecing together their stories from opposite sides of the same dumpster fire. By the end, we both laughed. Dark laughter, but still, somehow healing. When we hung up, I sat there for a long time. Not angry, not sad, just clear. This wasn't a love story gone wrong. It was never love. It was manipulation disguised as connection. It was lies dressed up as intimacy. I didn't lose something good. I escaped something rotten. It was a gray Thursday morning when I walked into the courthouse. No dramatic soundtrack. No cinematic slow-motion scenes. Just the cold echo of my boots on the tile floor and the smell of stale bureaucracy. This was it. The final stamp. I sat on the bench outside the courtroom with my lawyer. We barely spoke. We didn't need to. Everything had already been negotiated. No alimony, no property battles, no kids. Just names on paper and one final signature. Lila didn't even show. She sent her lawyer alone. Cowardly to the end. When the judge called my name, it was quick. Painless, almost. A few formal questions. A click of the pen. And just like that, I was legally not her husband anymore. I walked out of the courthouse and stood there on the steps for a second, looking up at the sky like I expected some thunderclap of emotion. Relief, maybe. Anger. Some last flare of sadness. But instead, I felt peace. Not the explosive kind. The kind that settles into your bones slowly. Quietly. Like the world stopped spinning just enough for you to breathe. And then, something strange happened. As I was walking back to my car, I passed a bakery on the corner. It had this little chalkboard sign out front that read, "Today's special, fresh starts." I laughed. Actually laughed. Out loud. Like some cheesy rom-com protagonist. So I went in. I bought a croissant and a black coffee. Sat by the window. Watched the world move around me. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was behind glass watching someone else live my life. I was in it. Present. Alone, but not lonely. Free. I didn't check my phone. Didn't scroll. Just sat there with flaky pastry crumbs on my shirt, breathing in the fact that I made it out. Not just from the marriage. From her. From the version of myself that thought love meant tolerating chaos. It had been a couple weeks since the divorce was finalized. I'd been riding this quiet high. Eating better, sleeping deeper, laughing more often than not. My playlist no longer triggered flashbacks. Even my dog seemed lighter. But then came the message. I was at work, clearing out some old email clutter, when I saw a new one slip through the spam filter. Subject: "One last thing, please." It was from Lila. I sat there, fingers hovering over the mouse, the cursor blinking like it was daring me to click. Against my better judgment, I opened it. The message wasn't long. No accusations. No manipulation this time. Just a soft plea. "I know I'm the last person you want to hear from, and I understand that I'm probably blocked everywhere else. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not for sympathy. Just because you deserved so much better than how I treated you. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect a response. I just wanted to say it before I disappear from your life completely. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're free. L." For a second, just a second, I felt something. That weird ache that comes when the ghost of your former life tries to put its hand on your shoulder. But it passed. I didn't respond. Not because I hated her. I didn't. Not because I wanted revenge. I didn't. But because closure doesn't come from the person who broke you. It comes from within. And I had already closed that door, locked it, and bricked it up. She said she was disappearing. Good. Stay gone. I archived the email. Didn't delete it. Didn't need to. It had no power anymore. That night, I made dinner for myself. I sat on my couch, and watched a movie without checking my phone, without wondering where someone was, without worrying about what lie I'd hear when they came home. And somewhere between the second beer and the credits, I realized that ache, it wasn't for her. It was grief for the guy I used to be, the one who thought love meant sacrificing yourself until nothing's left. But that guy? He's gone too. All that's left is someone I actually like being. It started with a bookstore. Just a little one tucked between a plant shop and a used vinyl store, the kind of place you'd miss unless you were looking for a reason to walk slower. I wandered in on a Sunday. No plan. No expectation. Just needed to be somewhere that didn't smell like Lila's perfume or look like a courtroom. And there she was. Not Lila, someone new. Someone who smiled like sunlight. She was sitting on the floor, surrounded by open books, cross-legged in a way that said she was fully comfortable taking up space. We made eye contact. She smiled. I said something stupid about her reading 3 books at once. She laughed and said, "You never know which one will disappoint you first." I almost choked. We ended up talking for an hour, then getting coffee, then walking around aimlessly, then more coffee, more conversation, more moments where I kept waiting for that anxiety to creep in, the second guessing, the tightness in my chest. But it never came. She wasn't a rebound. She wasn't a distraction. She was just easy to be around. Not because I was desperate for connection, but because for the first time, I wasn't. I liked who I was now. Stronger, sharper, quieter in the best ways. And she didn't try to fix me. She didn't try to fill the spaces Lila left hollow. She just met me there. That was 6 months ago. We're still taking it slow. No big declarations. No rushing anything. But I smile more now. I sleep better. And when she laughs, I don't feel tension behind it. Just warmth. Sometimes people ask if I regret everything that happened with Lila. I don't. Not anymore. Because walking through fire taught me what kind of man I refuse to be again, and what kind of love I'll never settle for again. I didn't just survive the betrayal. I outgrew it. And damn, it feels good. Story complete. If you'd like a full compiled version or a continuation from the new relationship angle, just let me know.